Now, true tax reform would be simple, to me at least, a flat tax or a consumption tax. Anything less is an open invitation for more red tape, more forms, more government, and more pain and suffering. So, will real tax reform ever happen? Joining me now from Southern California, master tax attorney and also college professor, Ronson Shamoun. Ronson, I have a vision of tax reform. In fact, I just espoused it right now. I suppose there are gradients of it, of not quite as good as a flat tax or a consumption tax. But in your mind, what does tax reform look like in the Trump administration?
Well, I think it's going to be major tax cuts across the board. I think the administration's thoughts about stimulating the economy is less taxes, have these companies invest more. So payroll taxes, corporate taxes going down, capital gains taxes going down, accelerated depreciation. They're going to do a lot to just support business, to hopefully stimulate the economy. Yeah. The estate tax may get abated for a year or two. So there's going to be a lot of that going across the board.
Well, this is the kind of stuff that Ronald Reagan did in the 1980s, and of course, it did stimulate the economy and created the greatest peacetime growth in the history of this country. So hopefully it'll be a repeat of that. Will we ever get consumption tax, do you think, in this country as a replacement, not on top of, but a replacement for an income tax?
I highly doubt that. I mean, it's just our code is too complex for them to ever switch the whole system. I mean, they may refine it and try to simplify it, but not a complete overhaul with this consumption tax.
Would put you out of a job, wouldn't it?
they'd find ways to change that around, too.
Yeah, I'm sure they would.
Exceptions to that as well. So.
Okay, so this year, the Trump administration comes out and says, hey, you know, this whole Obamacare proof of insurance thing on your tax form. Remember, if folks don't, it is the IRS is the enforcement mechanism of Obamacare. But the Trump administration is saying now that they're not necessarily going to enforce that. So you don't that tells me you don't have to check that box. You don't have to necessarily provide proof of insurance. What are you telling your clients this year on that?
Well, they're still technically responsible for the penalty if they don't have the insurance. However, what the feds used to do before was hold your refund, not allow you to file unless you check the box that you had the proof. So they're kind of just pushing it through. I think what's happening is they're probably going to overhaul it to where you won't be liable for it. They're giving people a temporary fix, but they're ultimately still responsible for it. But they could just proceed without that proof and hope for the best, really.
And the fine is up this year, isn't it? Almost $700?
Yes.
700 and then or 2.2%, is that what it is?
2.5% of the household income, whichever is greater.
So it could be stiff if you make a decent coin.
Yes, it can be.
All right, now, what seems to be clogging up the system more and more, I don't remember this being a factor 10, 15 years ago, but then again, the internet wasn't that big 10 or 15 years ago, is identity theft. Is that, number one, is that clogging up the system more and more in the last few years? And number two, is that a byproduct of e-filing and more internet use by Americans?
I mean, to answer your first question, I mean, yes, it is a disaster. I mean, there's so much identity theft. There's so many people, you know, stealing refunds, doing that they're just trying to enforce it. And it's just the individuals are suffering. I don't think it's anything that's changed. It's just technology is just getting more advanced. People are hacking. People are going into systems. And they're just increasing their protocols now to make sure that people get their money.
What are you hearing in terms of your clients or your colleagues' clients? What's the percent coming out that are getting hacked when they file their tax returns? What percent is having their ID stolen, their refunds stolen?
I mean, I would say in my practice, it's probably gone up maybe 10 or 20% more than the year prior, that I'm seeing more and more people give me a call that things are held, or we're getting letters. Even my office, when a certain filing number was revoked because they thought that our system was hacked. And so it's just across the board with practitioners, individuals. Anytime you're dealing with the government, it seems like they're having a lot of problems.
Okay, and residue of this is something new, at least it's new to me, and that is asking, after you file, let's say you e-file your tax return to the IRS, sometimes some people will get a notice afterwards saying, hey, we have your refund waiting for you. Here's the amount. But you're going to have to prove who you are, right?
Yeah, it happens all the time. They'll send a letter and saying, yeah, we think we owe you this money, but we don't think it's you because something is fishy in your return. And not fishy in the sense that you did something bad. It just looks odd. You know, maybe if the size of the refund was real big or you had more dependent. Just something that's not from the prior year, whatever reason it may be. And they'll say, we need a copy of your driver's license, we need your social security information, we need this, verification of that. And the feds will even ask specific questions about your return. Do you have a business? What's the business called?
Right.
And really try to find out to make sure that it's really you. But yeah, they're doing it a lot.
Okay, and the reason I bring this up is because I got one of those. Yeah. And it asked for things like my a copy of my Social Security card.
Yes.
I haven't had a Social Security card, I believe, since I was 18. I don't know where that thing is. It's long, long gone. It's also asking for bank account information. So it was a red flag to me that this could be a scam. This didn't seem right, although it did have my accurate amount of money coming back to me for my refund. But you know what I did, Ronson? You would probably advise me not to do this. I took a sticky note, and I put it on there. I said, I'm not giving you anything. Give me my money. You're holding my money hostage. You probably wouldn't recommend that, would you?
No, I would just play the safe bet. Give them a call. Call them whenever in doubt. Don't respond to any notices in writing. You don't even know if the address on that notice is correct. It could be a fraudulent notice. So just pick up the phone, call them directly. You'll be on hold probably for about 2 hours. But, I mean, give them a call and hope for the best. But, yeah, I just call them.
All right. Well, I'll end my hopes, at least for now, for the repeal of the 16th Amendment. But if I want my tax refund this year, I suppose I have to comply. That's your advice?
Yes, sir.
All right. Ronson, thank you.
Thank you.